2 years after the Sequest YouTube streams. The Babylon project was a dream given form. Its goal: prevent more Monday night boredom by creating a place where visitors and subscribers could wipe out their dullness coolly. It's a port of call, home away from home for YouTube envoys, grifters, enthusiasts, and wanderers. Visitors and subscribers wrapped in 2,500,000 tons of spinning madness, all alone in the night. It can be a dangerous place, but it's our last best hope for entertainment. This is the story of the last of the Matthews Babylon streams. The year is 2024. The name of the place is Babylon 5.
All right, hello and welcome. How is everyone doing? As I get Jeff brought back up here. Hey, Jeff.
Hey, Matthew. It's good to be here. How are you?
I'm doing good. Okay. So I've actually had a really weird day. Or just a weird thing in general. Back when my grandpa died ages ago now, he had an antique double-barrel musket that hung in his garage for decades. Like my entire life, it was hanging in his garage, basically. When he died, apparently it was inherited by my dad and was put in the back of a closet. When we moved my mom, we found this antique rifle, shotgun, musket thing. And my mom's like, I don't want this. Get it out of the house. Because we're moving away. So I'm like, okay, Mom, none of the siblings want it. I'll take care of it. I'll take it down to Cabela's, and Cabela's will safely dispose of it. So I take it to Cabela's, and they're like, I'm sorry, we can't let this come to the store. It's non-functional, because my granddad took off the firing pins to make it a decoration. They're like, you got to take it to the police station. We're not touching it. I'm like, fine.
Wow.
I'll take it to the police station. So I took it to the police station today because one near me was closed on the weekend, because why not? And the guy comes out. Nice guy. I think his name was Officer Martin or something. But knowing me and names, it was probably like Sanchez. And so he looks at it and he's like, this is amazing. It's incredible. I can't take it from you. I'm like, what do you mean you can't take it from me? You're an officer and this is a gun. And I'd like to surrender it. And he's like, I'm sorry, but it is since it's non-functional, it's technically considered a toy and decoration. And
wow.
And we're not allowed to just take your property. We are police officers. We can't take your stuff. It's against the law. I'm like, okay, yes, I appreciate that. So I can't get rid of this stupid antique double-barrel musket thing.
Can you sell it?
Well, so he told me I'm safe to sell it because that was my main concern. Like, if I put it up someplace, I'm like, am I going to get in trouble for selling this? And he's like, no. You're allowed to sell it. If you want to just cut it in half, you can throw it in the garbage. We only care if it's functional because then it can be used to commit a crime. But as long as it's non-functional, you can do whatever you want with it. And I'm like,
wow.
Okay. He's like, but, if you try and put it on Facebook, don't call it a gun, call it an antique heirloom or a house decoration, because Facebook gets mad about that stuff. I'm like,
they do.
Okay. All right. So that's what I've been doing like this weekend, trying to figure out what to do with this. We'll find out. What about you? How's your day been going?
I've had nothing like that. It's been very quiet. Very relaxing day.
Yeah. And yes, Thomas, Amy could use it to hit me with it. It'd be quite the heavy thing. I'll try and bring it on a stream at some point. I don't know how YouTube would feel about that. Maybe I can just show a picture, but it's like, if it's real. So here's the thing. I don't know the history on this. So my assumption is that this was actually my great-grandpa's, and it became this family heirloom thing. But without knowing the history, there's no emotional connection to it. It's just as likely that my granddad bought this at a flea market, non-functional, because he's like, this will look great in my garage. Like for all I know, that's its history. I need to ask my aunt. She might know more than I do, but we'll we'll see. I'll let y'all know next week how that turns out. Anyways,
We'll be waiting.
yeah.
We'll be waiting for that answer.
So hey to everyone in the chat. Professor Brainy Specs was here first this week. Thank you. It's been a lot of the day here.
No problem.
John DeMarco, glad you're here. Josh Street, very pleased to see you. He's saying I have 20 episodes until Matthew makes his debut. I don't know what that is. I'm not going to look too closely into this. In fact, hey, if you're leaving comments on last week's stream, first of all, thank you. Awesome. I love it. You may have noticed I'm not responding to a lot of them. It's not because I don't care about them. There's some comments in there that are a little bit spoily. And so I've been specifically not reading the comments. But by all means, if you love this show, talk about it below. But I'm not going to engage too many of them because I'm doing my best not to spoil things. So be careful. No spoilers. Well, I guess you can kind of spoil it down below. I'm just not going to read it. But definitely no spoilers in the chat because I will try to read the chat tonight, please.
Matthew thought I was going to try to spoil things for him this morning.
I did.
Remember, I had no intention to spoil anything.
It's true. It's true. And also, like I was patting myself like, oh yeah, good job, Matthew. I've been really on top of it with the names for 1 week.
You have been very good.
I have, and I was actually gonna, kind of toot my own horn a little bit, being like, yeah, I've been working on that. Like over the past 2 years, I've been involved in the youth group at my church, being a youth leader in it and teaching these kids. And I've really been trying to make it a point of focusing in, this is someone's face. I can remember their face, even though it turns out I'm a little face blind, and like really committing people's names to memory. And so I was going to, kind of humble brag about this. And then like, I was talking to Jeff about who I think, based on the pilot episode, each character represents as a country. And I'm like, you got now I forgot everyone's name, just like that. It's all gone. I got Jakar, and I think he's supposed to be kind of this French type person. You got Londo, who I think is supposed to be maybe a German or Russian type connection. And the reason I think that is he strikes me as someone who, he makes this line about how his people used to be this proud people, and the other races shook in fear at his proud lineage, and now they no longer do. And so that kind of strikes me, the sort of stuff that was going on at the end of World War I with Germany and World War II with Russia. And so I'm like, maybe we kind of got this used to be great power, now not so much, like you'd see with them. Jakar, kind of a France personality, talks big but backs down. And these are stereotypes. This is not what I actually think about these countries, please. These are 1990s stereotypes. And then you had what I said, Lita. I said, they got Lita. And Lita, she strikes me as Japan. And Jeff is like, well, what do you think about I've forgotten her name again.
Delenn.
What do you think about Delenn? And I'm like, I actually meant Delenn and not Lita. So I didn't even get through like a single week without just completely ruining it. But I tried. We'll see if I don't do better in general, if my attempts to focus and pay attention have fruit, or if I am just a scattered brain as y'all know and love.
And he doesn't know what to make of Kosh.
Have I met Kosh? Which one?
Yeah, the Vorlon.
Oh yeah, that's right. Did they say his name? They did. They mentioned not Admiral Kosh, Ambassador Kosh. Yes.
Ambassador. Yes.
Yeah, I'm trying to promote him like a Chekhov rank admiral. But no, I don't know what to make of Kosh, simply because he's so mysterious. If the humans, who I said, okay, anyone human, USA is where I'm landing on that. But if the humans weren't like so obviously supposed to be this USA type, I might give it to Kosh to be a USA stand-in as kind of this superpower. Everyone seems to be reverentish toward him, very mysterious. But I'm glad to see I suspect. I don't think they went that far in Babylon 5. I don't think we're trying to promote USA that much by making this mysterious creature like the Vorlons. But we'll find out. So
we shall.
Talk about it in the comments below. Not going to read it, but hey, am I on the right track? Am I crazy sauce? We'll find out. Mr. Lindell,
you don't want the answer to that.
Yeah, okay. Okay, let me be specific. Am I crazy sauce about this specifically? Because we know in general, I am a bag of nuts. I mean, there's no helping it.
No comment.
Alex Bogey, glad to see you're here. Saying, I wish I'd watched Babylon 5. Well, this is the stream for you, my friend. We are going to be going over all 5 seasons?
5
seasons, plus the specials as they come up, if I can arrange that. Which I should be able to. We'll have plenty of time to get it worked out.
The first one will come up in season 4. So
okay, yeah, we got a minute to get this worked out.
Yeah.
Knowing how quickly I do things.
Maybe 2.
Yeah. Knowing how quickly I do things, it's going to be like 5-6 years, maybe. But hey, we actually did 2 weeks in a row, so we're doing good.
We are.
James Fry, thanks for joining us tonight. Mike Finney, you are just in time. Actually, I don't have timestamps turned on. You might have been like hours early, for all I know. I should turn on timestamps. And let me know, I have that stupid heart stuff turned off, right? Like in chat, no one has those. Okay, good. This is just a personal PETA for me. But whenever I'm in a live stream and I see that little thing in the corner that you can't move no matter what, I hate it so much because I want to read what someone just wrote and you can't read the end of the comments because of it. Just
YouTube
weird
needs
OCD
to get
stuff.
A clue. YouTube needs to get a clue.
They do. They take away dislikes and they give us these instant emote reactions, which I don't know. Is that like an Instagram thing or a TikTok thing to have those quick reacts?
My guess would be TikTok. I'm not a TikTok user, but
yeah, I have no idea. Like I admit that my online presence is pretty much YouTube, and that's it. I mean, I played around with Rumble a little bit. Like I upload some bike streams there, but it doesn't let me do as high quality as I can do here on YouTube. So this is it. Yeah, nice try, Thomas. You did that as an emoticon. I have no problem with you spamming the heart. I mean, you're technically a moderator. The problem is like you have that little circle that covers up the bottom of the chat. That's what I can't stand. So nice try to annoy me, but it's not going to work this time. Thomas says, Matthew, which one has the weird hair? That's Londo. Londo Calrissian. I remember. No, that was the other thing I did. That was the other thing I did. Okay, I know that's not his last name for the record. I'm just making a joke. In Discord today, I posted what I thought was a funny meme of a Cardassian resisting a Vulcan mind meld by watching a bunch of adult anime stuff. So she'd be totally grossed out. And I said, I could totally see Garrick doing that. And John responded, who's going to tell Matthew that's not Garrick? And it wasn't. It very much wasn't. It was just my scattered brain being scattered.
And yes, Mr. Lundell, it's Londo Malari.
Yes. Please don't. I can see like just nothing but hate comments down below. How dare you get this mixed up with Star Wars? And I'm wearing my Star Trek emblem, which is just going to make it worse. Like I just needed a light T-shirt. Don't read into this.
Well, so many actors that were on Star Trek are in Babylon 5, so why not?
It's true, but I mean, they're just doing, trying to make a paycheck. I don't blame them for it.
Yeah.
But I did read some comments that were very much telling some of the backstory of there was more vitriol between the writers of Babylon 5 toward Deep Space Nine than even I was aware of, apparently. Like, I remember one comment was saying that originally it was going to be an alien who could shapeshift, who was named a changeling, and they changed it at the last second to just be the suit because they wanted to keep it distinct and not have everyone go, oh, well, you're just copying Deep Space Nine.
I didn't know that. Where'd you read that?
I forget his name, and I apologize, but as hopefully you're aware of by now, it's quite clear I don't remember names well. I'm sorry.
No, not you, Matthew.
And Josh is saying it wouldn't be a Dolphin Boy stream if you didn't get the names of the characters right. It's true. It's true.
Yeah, John wants to know which B5 character is the most like B'Elanna Troy.
Ooh, that was Lita. Only because she had the ability to read minds. So whenever I talk about B'Elanna Troy, that was a joke from the Sequest stuff. When I got a couple names warped around. So I was trying to make a joke about her being Deanna Troy, but instead I said B'Elanna, yada, yada, yada. Whenever I talk about someone being a Deanna Troy character, it is someone who serves no function at all. Like in Galaxy Quest, you had Sigourney Weaver's character who just repeated whatever the ship said. That's the Deanna Troy character. Like every time she had her psychic powers working, she'd be like, I sense, and she would tell you the obvious emotion. Like you could be totally emotionally brain dead as a person and still realize that this person is lying through their teeth or is completely angry about something.
I sense deception, Captain.
Yeah, you don't say. But yeah, so we'll see if a character like that pops up in this show, and also especially
Mikey,
at the beginning.
Mikey, I do not agree with that. Delenn is not like Troy. Sorry.
At the beginning of TNG, Deanna's character was especially egregious. Like they kind of improved her a bit over time, so she wasn't just this one note. You know, it would be if the guest star is male, he'd end up in Troy's bunk, and if the guest star was female, she'd end up in Riker's bunk, and that was kind of all they had for a while. Unfortunately, they expanded beyond that. And hey there, Amy's Amazing Deals. That's my Amy, as a matter of fact. Coming in on her brand account. How you doing, hun? You're actually just in time. Let's go ahead and kick this off. So, as I say for all these streams, if you're here tonight, you have so many options for how you can watch this. You can either click on the pinned comment over there, and that will take you to the screening room. During this stream only, that will be available to watch my copy of Babylon 5. As soon as this stream is over, it's down. But as long as the stream is going, you can watch it there with us. Alternatively, you can stream it right now on Amazon if you have Amazon Prime. However, I noticed that you actually have to pay for it. I thought it came bundled with Amazon Prime, but it doesn't. So you have to pay like, I think it's $20 a season or $1.99 an episode if you want to watch on Amazon Prime. Or you can just buy the entire Blu-ray remastered series, which, Jeff, you have that, don't you?
I do have that. I've been watching about an episode per day since I bought it. I'm up through midway through season 4 now, and the quality is excellent.
So your take, is it something worth watching, or?
It's definitely worth watching. If you're a fan of the show, you watched it when it came out, or maybe you found it later, and you really love the show, buy it. It doesn't have any of the frills like commentaries or documentaries or anything like that. It's just a TV show, but the quality is just amazing. Awesome. Way better than DVDs if you bought the DVDs.
So those are, and that one I want to say is like $89 right now. So
it's close to that, $90, $100 in that range.
It may have been on sale today when I was looking, because I specifically went to look and remembered it was not what I was expecting, but for 5 seasons on Blu-ray,
That's not bad.
Yeah,
That's
I mean
not bad.
that's even $100. That's $20 a season. So I mean, if you like Babylon 5, if you want a higher quality, I certainly would recommend it. Alternatively, so you can stream it on Amazon Prime, you can buy it, the Blu-rays, or you can go to Tubi TV. And
Tubi TV, yeah.
You can
watch
stream
it for
free.
Has commercials, but
yeah. The one thing about that one is I think they're not the remastered version.
They are the remastered.
Really?
They are the remastered versions.
Well,
now if you buy the Blu-rays, I would recommend buying new cases. The case that it comes in is horrible.
I remember you saying that. Yeah. So those are great options, especially that last one. That way you can, if you come in late and you don't own the DVDs yourself or the Blu-rays and you just need to stream it for free, Tubi TV, great way of doing it. Remastered versions, you watch the commercials, you support them, guys. I highly recommend it. If you don't like any of those, good news, we got you covered. In just a second, I'm going to turn on the clips. And in fact, I guess let me transition over to have, there's the clips right there. And hopefully, let's see right here, it shouldn't be playing yet. Yep, not playing yet. So I'm going to turn on the clips in just a second. And you can watch the clips. And what this is, there should be 0 sound. If ever there's sound, guys, please yell it out. I don't want to get in trouble. This is supposed to be a fun thing. And last week's stream, no one claimed it, which is great. They shouldn't be, but you can't be too careful with this stuff. I try to be respectful to the people who own it. I want you to go out and buy it and support it. Support these people. Let them know what good quality TV used to be, and hopefully we can get it again someday. But these are just still clips, no sound. Once every 5 to 7 seconds, I grab a random picture and show it there just so you have some context for what's going on. And Omni's saying it's also available on Laserdisc. That one's probably a little more than $100 for the whole season, I would guess, Omnicast.
Good luck finding it, too. I don't know where you would buy that. Maybe eBay?
Maybe a private collection. And hey,
perhaps.
If you're one of those people who can go to private collections and buy something like that, maybe become a Patreon. I don't know. Support the stream or something.
Excellent idea, Matthew.
Yeah. So guys, let's go ahead and get this started. If you're watching this later, I'm going to hit the play button in the stream studio in let's say 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1, play. I'll try and make sure the clips are going as well. My goodness, why are those clips? Oh, silly Matthew. Okay, sorry for the clips for just a second while I try and fix this.
Wait,
it wasn't last week the quality was low quality.
Jump point forming in sector 3. Great maker.
Hey, would it be a Matthew stream without technical issues?
Activating mines.
Probably not.
Notify Centauri Prime.
Thomas is pausing saying sound. Can you do it?
Tell them we're under attack. Tell them it's the.
Is my desktop coming through? Everyone's saying sound right now. It shouldn't be.
Yes, it is. It is coming through.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm gonna have to stop this, guys. Thank you for letting me know. I've probably done something extremely obvious that I should not have done. Give me just a second to fix this.
Thank you, Thomas, for letting us know. Appreciate that. And John also says sound. I think we're good. Okay. We can't hear you, Matthew. I can't hear you either.
How about now?
Yes.
And there we go. I was muted. Okay, so no more sound stuff, right, everyone?
I don't think so.
You can hear me now, but you can't hear the stream. Okay, and this is one of the new characters this week, right?
Yes. This is Ivanova. Susan Ivanova. She's replacing Commander Takashima.
Yes. And Thomas is saying there's no sound. Is there still no sound? Can you hear me now, Thomas? No one's talking in the chat. You hear only the episode? Oh, come on now. Oh,
they're saying you're muted.
Josh. Okay, everyone's saying they can hear me except Josh, who's giving me a hard time. And Thomas.
You are coming through YouTube.
Okay, thank you, everyone. I appreciate your honesty.
Clerical.
Okay, so Londo's trying to insist that Earthlings and his people are somehow genetically related.
Yes. They claimed that initially at first contact.
And that's kind of going back to what he was saying in the pilot, that they're like little nursery sharks that attach themselves to the larger predators. And apparently their colony on something 3 is under attack.
Rakish
3. And no one knows who did it. They just warp in. And I noticed also, I don't feel like I saw a warp gate on this planet. Just the portal.
If ships are large enough, they can form their own jump gate, or jump point,
gate.
rather. Jump point.
Okay.
Ships can make jump points. If they're small enough, if they're too small, then they need a jump gate.
And Mikey wants to know which female character you consider more like Troy in this series. And like, I'll take it off so you can answer.
I don't think there is one.
And the story he did at the beginning of, why Babylon 5, because humans are stubborn, more or less, is what his answer was. It made me think of Monty Python's In the Search for the Holy Grail, when the king was like, we built a castle and that one fell into the sea or sank into the swamp. And so we built another one and that too sank into the swamp. So we built a third one. That one burned down, but the fourth one.
That is very similar, isn't it? And
so saying,
that's Omnicast's favorite version of the theme.
It's very interesting the way you viewed the remake of the pilot, having seen all the rest of the series and how it meshes better audio wise, versus how I saw the pilot. And it wasn't as like the remake of the pilot, I kind of didn't like it as much. For one scene, the scene where they had the hostage at the very beginning,
mm-hmm.
I felt like it kind of showed the captain's hand or commander's hand too quickly about what he'd do to protect the station. Whereas
Okay.
where you wait until the end and he does that speech about, I don't care what you do, you can scheme as much as you like, but you mess with the station, that's crossing the line. Like, that had more power with that being the first time he said it at the end of the episode compared to it being a repeat of what he'd already said with the smuggler guy.
I get that.
It's a minor critique, but at the same time, the remastered version, it did have a better sound score. I gotta give it to that.
Definitely.
Okay, and Talia, she's the other new character. She's the leader replacement. Yes. Okay.
Yes.
And I'll say, I got the feeling that the only reason they included that hostage scene in the remake was because they needed to feel the time they lost by taking away the puppets, the alien puppets.
That could be.
No love lost between these two ladies, I see.
And we'll find out why.
And what's the new Takashi's replacement?
Susan Ivanova.
Susan.
She's Russian.
Oh, okay. We got a president of Earth. That's nice. Somewhat appropriate for this 2024 season. And Omnicast, we are watching the remastered version, so I'm not sure how much of the visuals have been punched up a little bit. But honestly, the CGI from 30 years ago, it really wasn't all that bad.
No, it wasn't that bad. And for what they had, they really did a good job, I thought, with Babylon 5 CGI. It gets a lot of criticism, but I think that is in large part is the DVDs because of the way that they framed them. They just look bad on it.
Oh, okay. And that's a good piece of advice. He's saying, one of his mentors was telling him, ignore the propaganda and believe only what you see. And so he's commenting that he's never known the Nabari to fight dishonorably. And so she's supposed to be Russian.
Yes.
Is she trying to do a Russian accent?
Maybe a little bit. Now, this is Veer Kato, Londo's aide.
Mm-hmm.
He was not in the pilot, so this is introduction to him.
And I noticed they definitely increased the pointiness of the fangs.
I think they're a little bit more noticeable. Yeah.
Or at least they did on Lear.
It's Veer.
Veer.
Yes.
Londo, Veer, Lear. I'm just giving them a couple name. Oh, and it was Jakar's people. Jakar! Or at least it was his people's ships.
Yes.
And Omnicast is saying that the entire show was produced on an Amiga video toaster.
That's true. I think they did Sequest on those too.
Really?
John may be able to verify that.
Like, obviously, this CGI right here is not going to win any award for realism.
Well, it's 30 years old, too.
Yeah, but even with that, I feel like you can look at this and it still holds up. Like, you're not going, okay, it's so realistic. I think they're really in space. But you go, yeah, this is okay. I get what they're going for. And this is good.
Yeah. Now, they redid Jakar's makeup.
They also redid, not Lita.
Delenn?
Delenn. I remember you telling me that last week.
Yes.
And Lando's not being very diplomatic. Is he eating gum? Or candy. He's probably eating a little candy thing.
No, he's eating, what is it, Spoo?
Nicorette. Omni, I can't tell if you're being serious or not. He's saying he was a chain smoker in real life.
Andreas Casillas, yes, he was a chain smoker.
I could see Janeway having to chew a couple Nicorettes to get her through the day. Kate Mulgrew was also a bit of a chain smoker, I understand.
You learn something every day, I guess.
Sometimes you get lucky and it's useful.
Sometimes.
Today's not looking good for anyone in the chat, let's be honest. And so Londo, by the way, if you missed it, was extremely mad at Jakar for it looks like his people's ships attacking. And Jakar is very much, well, I'm sure there's a reasonable explanation. And Londo was not having it. And Londo is saying that in 20 years' time, one of them is going to be older and wiser, and the other one's going to be dead.
I don't know if you caught it. Londo has this dream. It's Jakar, and they're strangling each other to death 20 years from now.
Oh, you're saying that was a dream of his?
Yes.
Okay.
Centauri can have a dream how they die, and that's his dream.
And Londo is a Centauri.
Yes.
I'm getting it. I'm glad we watched the pilot, by the way. This would be hard to jump into as the first episode.
I think so, too. Because it does jump right into the action.
And Londo is heartbroken. He was giving advice to not join the Centauri military to someone, and instead he got him a job. His
nephew.
His nephew. And he got him a job instead on Arrakis 3. And now he doesn't know if his nephew is alive or dead tonight. And you know, the commander, he's saying, let's give peace a chance. Let's figure out what's going on here. Being very diplomatic. And Londo is saying he's long past the age of being naive like that. He doesn't believe that the races can come together in harmony the way the commander's hoping he will. Sinclair?
Sinclair, yes.
And Londo's saying, this I swear to, Commander, if it's with my last breath, I'll make sure there's war. So, you know, it's a rough start. Rough start to your peace station. Apparently, he gets very peckish when he sees that many dead bodies. So he's pigging out. Now, I was seeing Mike Finney was saying they cropped it down to 4:3. Was this originally done in 16:9 ratio?
The live action sequences are filmed 16:9, but it was transmitted, of course, in 4:3. The digital effects were all done in 4:3. So when they did the DVDs, they did 16:9, and they zoomed in on the effects, and it made it look really bad.
And so now they're doing the opposite. They've
right
upscaled the filmed portions, but then cropped it down.
Well, they
to
remastered.
4:3.
They remastered the film
Because they had
and
actual film.
upscaled the effects. Yes.
Which is one of the just amazing things about film. That you can quite... Hello. They changed him a bit.
Well.
Hey, Tokyo.
Welcome, Tokyo.
So this is the Vorlon.
Yes. Kosh.
Kosh. So... Oh, interesting. Okay.
So he was outside of his encounter suit. That's why the encounter suit looked different.
Yeah, okay. Now, the suit
was
is still a
open.
little bit different. It had like these weird breathing tubes that were always moving around in the pilot.
Well, they're still there.
Yes, just a little not so movie. So I was saying that's one of the really fun things about film, that you can almost in perpetuity increase the resolution of how you capture that film, as long as you have the originals.
Yeah.
Both with
Which
VHS,
the only episode they couldn't do was the pilot. They did not have that on film.
Had it on tape?
Yes, it was only on tape. For the remastered, they redid the effects.
Mm-hmm. I like that line. Londo is maybe imbibing a bit too much, but he's saying, you know, the special counsel can go to hell, this person go to hell, and you can go to hell too, because I wouldn't want you to feel left out. So he's talking about a council of genetic defectives, and I'm assuming he's talking about his own people and not
his government.
Yeah. And he's saying we're going to do nothing. Or that's what they decided. Because Rakesh 3 is too far, too small, and too unimportant to care about.
Effectively.
And it wouldn't matter, because by the time our ships got there and he stops, collects himself, it'd be too late because everyone would be dead. Alex Bogey says, what does everyone think about the DS9 copying Babylon 5? I admit...
That's a big story, big topic. Too much to talk about here, I think.
Yeah, and I admit my ignorance on the matter. My lack of being well informed enough. My basic high-level understanding. High meaning... like, I'm looking down from, 2 miles up and trying to tell you details about what I see on the ground. Is that, yes, it does appear there is some stealing. I think it was kind of the same way engineers steal stuff from each other. where the people in charge know the details and they say, well, we want it to be kind of more like this. And then the engineer goes, okay, well, here's how I can make it more like that. And they say, well, it also needs to do this. And so by the end, the engineer, who is rather ignorant of what's going on, has stolen some other piece of technology. But at the same time, the higher up knew exactly what they were doing the whole time and having the engineers do. That's kind of my broad understanding of it.
That sounds about right.
And like Mr. Lundell is saying, by the times things got past the initial idea, they definitely veered into two wildly different shows.
They are different shows. But there are striking similarities too. Did the elevator close twice? Did it skip?
It may have. It looked like I just got disconnected and reconnected to SciTube. So it may have gone back a second for y'all.
Okay.
That or there's a glitch in the Matrix.
I suppose anything's possible.
Oh, I'm sure 30 years later, they're quite aware of each other if he fixed. I'm just saying, like, at the time, I think that as they're building up the world of DS9, I don't think they had the pilot from B5. This is just my assumption. Like I said, I'm very ignorant of the matter. But my working assumption is that the exec said, this is the sort of show we want. And that's just what the writers came up with for that initial premise of DS9. But I do think the execs were also taking some heavy notes. And Sinclair and Jakar, they definitely they're definitely setting themselves up as opposing forces at the beginning of the series here.
They are.
He's calling...
And Jakar and Delenn as well in the pilot.
Yes. Although to be fair, I didn't feel like Delenn was really on our side in the pilot. Like, she helped Sinclair, gave him information and stuff. But I never felt as if it was because she cared about Sinclair per se or humanity, as it was an advantageous move for her to make for her people.
I'll just say it's complicated.
Which is good. Real life is complicated, and the more nuance you give your characters, the more real it definitely feels.
And that's why I love this show. It feels very real.
If he's saying there's more similarities, can't go into spoilers. I appreciate that. Thank you.
That's very true, Omnicast. Understanding is a three-edged sword.
And so, quite clear at this point, we're saying that yes, this is non-aggression. There's no doubt about it. Jakar is trying to play innocent, but that's just not the truth. The Narn have launched a surprise attack. This is them on the move. But he's saying, hey, we can't go around being the galaxy policeman. This was definitely a feeling about what the US was doing in the 90s.
Yes.
He's saying we have to take a neutral position. But if we pull out, others might do the same. And he's saying, yeah, that's not our problem. And that's definitely the dual-edged sword of isolationism versus being a police state, or not police state, but a policing nation for the whole world. If you have that strong
or galaxy,
you have that strong presence, then you tend to poke your nose where it doesn't belong, but you get a more stable world or galaxy. But you're also putting your nose where it doesn't belong, and you're getting yourself into conflict after conflict that you shouldn't be in. So where do you go? Where's that balance point? So Sinclair is saying, hey, you never heard anything from Earth Central. You're gonna keep a tight lip on this.
welcome, Sci-Fi Nation.
Hey, Sci-Fi. And yes, Omni, never forget Ragesh 3. And Josh is saying that was the feeling after both world wars to stay out of conflicts. Yeah. I talked about this on one of the first videos on this channel ever, talking about how the culture defined Star Trek before Star Trek defined the culture. And just how many people today think about the Red Scare as being this made up bogeyman. But the truth of the matter is, like, the USSR was pretty messed up. Like, when you look at what they were doing to their own people, it was not a good thing. And that's why America went and did as much interventionism as we did. But there is such a push to stay out of conflicts that we're unwilling to actually declare war again. And so, had we not been in this half-defeated state, we probably would have gone to war with Russia right after defeating Germany and Japan, but everyone was just so beat that we just backed off. I can only think of this actress's name, something with an AL. I can do it. It's not Lita. It's not the Vorlons. It's Delenn.
Delenn. You were close.
So close.
So close.
But yeah, Delenn's pointing out, like, we can't keep starting up wars based off something that happened centuries ago. Like, eventually the bloodshed has to stop. And yes, here is Sinclair, who, if only he had gotten the orders from the Earth to stand down, he would have, but he didn't. So he's intervening.
Well, this is another matter. This is with the Raiders.
Were those not on... Oh, okay. Yes. So here we got a live broadcast from Ragesh 3. And this individual, Khan Malari, the nephew, I recognize the last name.
There you go.
And he in no way whatsoever looks like he's being forced to read off of a card at gunpoint. This is right from the heart.
Nah, not at all.
What do I think of Delenn's new makeup? I think it looks a lot better. They tried that chin they gave her. It was a choice, but I'm glad to see that they're making it so she doesn't have to spend quite as much time in the makeup chair. And so the nephew here is saying that Rakesh 3 of their own volition has decided to become a part of the Narn territory. That of course will remain some polite ties to the homeworld, but we're choosing to be part of the Narn. And Jakar, he has some good information networks.
He seems like a schemer.
He does. He's calling Londo out for his own lies of mission. You know, Londo's saying, well, obviously he's being forced to read this. And Jakar's saying, well, you're leaving out stuff too. You're leaving out the fact that your own council, your own government has rejected sending help to these people. And so he smugly, please call for the vote. It's honestly fascinating how much history repeats. I mean, you would think what we're seeing right now with a foreign power claiming historical precedence over another person's territory was some sort of commentary on what's happening right now. But nope, it's just 30 years ago. This is the plot they came up with. Iffy FSX is saying, I have to warn you, if you mispronounce, oh dear, someone's name, things will get ugly. Dare I try? Dare I even try?
That's Ivanova.
Ivanova. I'm glad
Ivanova.
I hesitated. I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, hooked on phonics. Don't fail me now. Ivanovas? No, Ivanova. Okay, that makes much more sense. Ivanova. And yeah, LDG, they do look kind of like a game of Wing Commander. The graphics.
I can't argue with that.
Uh-oh. I don't think that teapot handle is just a teapot handle.
What will give you that idea?
The music.
Mm.
I noticed
Musical
those subtle
clues.
changes.
They do help, don't they?
I also do enjoy the idea that you can bring in a bunch of mundane objects, and as long as you know where to pull the different pieces, you could assemble a fully functional weapon. It's very much like a spy trope.
Well, that one's certainly not a toy.
Yes, definitely not a toy. Oh, and of course he bumps into the PSYOP. But honestly, the way he grabs her hand like that, I mean, maybe he was just trying to be polite and keep her in balance, but it's almost like he wanted to be stopped. Maybe I'm reading too much into his clumsy movement, but it almost to me looked like he wanted her to run into her, and
Maybe subconsciously he did.
and thankfully we live in a world with instantaneous communication, so he knows what's going on.
Hmm.
I like the friendship or relationship that they're starting to develop between Mike. Yeah?
Michael Garibaldi.
and Londo. I certainly wouldn't call it the relationship between Quark and Odo. But there does seem to be more than like the fact that he's stopping him right now and just giving him the chance to turn around, go back to his room instead of arresting him. Like it shows there's a mutual level of respect, if not friendship there.
I'd agree with that. Garibaldi's all about second chances.
And yeah, he says, Ambassador, in exactly 1 hour, I'm going to check your quarters for weapons. Make sure I don't find anything. Nice. so Lando's like, really? Would you have killed me just now if you had to? And Garrett Dolly says, yeah, I would have, but I'm glad I didn't have to. That paperwork would have been a pain in the butt. LDD saying Odo never would have done that. Well, he would have at the very end with his relationship with Quark, but definitely not at the beginning of the series. And the Raiders were getting their heavy weapons from Jakar's people, of course.
The Narn.
Which, again, I mean, the 90s wasn't that far off from the end of, what was the third one? Vietnam? Was it Vietnam or Korea we did last?
Vietnam.
I mean, I guess 20-ish years, but...
First you had Desert Storm.
Yeah, Desert Storm would have been a lot closer in time. But just the way these proxy wars happened, where we wouldn't be directly involved, but we would be providing advisors. And that was something America, we'd go in and we'd be directly involved for a long time. Like we finally started to back off and we started to make brand new mistakes. But for a long time, we'd be directly involved in these wars, whereas the Russians would only send their advisor. I mean, they'd have Russians flying planes for like the Vietnamese and the North Koreans, but they wouldn't officially be there. They'd just be as an advisor role. Yeah. And that's exactly what we see happening here with the Narn, that they're not, directly involved in this conflict. They're just providing weapons for the Raiders. And, if they're providing weapons, they want to be responsible, of course, and provide training on how to use it, give some advice on how to use it. And now I see the reason for their deep-seated hatred. Anyone who'd go to a bar and order water clearly has something wrong with them. And just saying, before the Gulf Wars, Panama, yeah, we definitely changed the way we did things. Omni's saying the background music has changed since the original broadcast. The band playing in the background there. And now we're finding out the real reason. Go on.
I was wondering maybe if it's a copyright issue.
Yeah. Well, now I wonder what the original music was. Because it definitely doesn't sound like it's modern music. It sounds like it's late 80s, early 90s music. So she's revealing that her mom was also a psychic. And as a result, she kind of has some animosity toward other people in the Psi Corps, because when it's found out that you're psychic, they give you three options. You can join the Psi Corps. What was the second one? Go to jail, I think they said.
Go to prison.
Or the third one is you can take medication to suppress your abilities for the rest of your life. He's saying that for 10 years, this man came to her door and gave her injections and made sure that she had her abilities suppressed. And as a result, her mind just deteriorated, just further, every day, further and further, she would drift away. Kind of like the chemical castration Britain did to anyone of a certain persuasion, if you will, for a long time.
I think we know what you mean.
Can we call this psychic hotline? You know, Omnicast, if I was ever going to call a psychic hotline, I think they should call me and know that I want to talk to them. Like, any psychic hotline that doesn't call me first, they're not good enough for me.
Now, I don't know if you...
Sorry.
I don't know if you caught it. After 10 years of taking the medication, her mother took her own life.
And so here we have this new character. What's her name? The blonde?
The telepath?
Yeah.
Talia Winters.
Okay, Talia. So Talia, as being in this Psi Corp, directly represents the reason her mom eventually took her life and went through 10 years of being half dead as it was until she took her own life.
Yes. This is Garibaldi's second favorite thing in the whole universe.
Duck Dodgers or Looney Tunes?
Duck Dodgers.
He's got good taste. My kids cannot get enough of the Looney Tune cartoons. But also, is he on a date with Delin?
No. I think she was just curious about Garibaldi's second favorite thing in the whole universe. She's trying to gain a better understanding of humans.
And the newscast he was watching kind of leaves things on a negative note. That Earth is...
Wow, that went fast.
It did. That Earth is going to become more isolated, which is the exact opposite of what he wanted. That's a good second episode.
Yes. Well, this was transmitted 11 months after the pilot did.
That's rough. That is a rough break.
They did film it in 93, but it was January of 94 when it was broadcast.
Tokyo Gaijin is wondering if you got his pass there, Jeff.
Did you pass Tokyo?
Well,
I don't think I got that.
He made a reference a few minutes ago saying it's Mikey G. Then said Professor Bernie Specs definitely great communications on B5 because Mikey never passes.
This is kind of an in joke on Jep Nerdy.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Which I would love to actually be able to watch those, but they always happen just early enough in the evening where I'm still getting my kids down, so I miss out on it.
Well, you could watch the replay.
It's true. I should watch the replays.
It is true. It is true.
What days are those? That's Saturday night, right?
Saturday night at 8 p.m. Central.
And that's over on John DeMarco's channel, which he's here in the chat. So if you click on his name, do they still let you go to his channel, or do they get rid of that ability? Because that's...
they got rid of it for a while, but it is back again.
Let me...
At least for now.
Drop that in the chat there. There we go. So that's a link to John's channel. He does... John's mind has limitless capacity for remembering things. Like, as bad as my mind is for forgetting things, John is as good for remembering them. And so John does these compilation videos where he'll pick a single subject and track and be like, oh, here's all the references to this thing. Like the most recent ones he did was all the references to DS9 and the Next Generation and Voyager. And the one before that was all the references to the Next Generation in DS9. And I don't know how he can put these together so quickly, but it's just all up there for John. So he's go check him out. He does those, and then every Saturday at 8:30 Central.
8 p.m. Central.
8 p.m. He literally said it, and I can't even remember it a few seconds later. 8 p.m. Central.
That's why I'm here, Matthew.
On Saturdays, they do Jep Nerdy.
Jep Nerdy.
Which is a Jeopardy-style game show about, nerdy topics like Star Trek.
Mostly Star Trek, although we do dabble in other franchises occasionally.
Like Orville, when we were enjoying that beautiful last season of Orville.
Oh, wasn't that great?
That was such a good season.
Oh, it was like having Star Trek back, real Star Trek.
It was. And I know not everyone agrees with that, but just I thought it was great. They had
I agree with you.
They had the same humor from season 1 to season 3. And considering the fact that there was a big gap between season 2 and season 3 where the political landscape for TV shows fundamentally changed, the fact that Seth MacFarlane kept the jokes the same, the characters the same, is mind-boggling to me. Like, especially the plotline he did with Bortus's daughter. Like, Seth MacFarlane has some strong thoughts about what you allow children to do to their bodies, and he did not shy away from it. And I was really shocked that he was allowed to get away, or he was allowed to air his opinions on this, because they definitely run counter to the current message being pushed by every other show out there.
But Matthew, the way he did it was in line with the old Star Trek, the original Star Trek, Next Generation, and DS9, in which both sides are presented and the viewer is allowed to decide.
Yeah. Yeah, so you could leave the episode and be like, I can't believe Bortus did that. And you'd have people in the show representing you. And it, like you said, it wasn't just a here's a token person that I'm gonna crap on for an hour to represent the stance I hate. It was actually like they presented the reasoning why.
Mm-hmm.
It's true.
I
Tokyo.
love season 3.
Seth is extremely woke. Let me not paint Seth like a conservative. Seth MacFarlane is by no means a conservative. I'm just shocked that in this specific thing, he was allowed to get away with what he did. And honestly, it's one of those things where I'm surprised he even has that stance. Anyway, that's Orville. I didn't mean to get sidetracked. I'm like a dog who sees a squirrel on a walk.
That's why we love you.
Yeah. All this because I was talking about Jep Nerdy. It's a fun time, and it is an open event. So if you are someone who thinks Trek culture, like Star Trek inside and out, you can come up on the panel. And you can try to defeat the reigning champion, who is Mr. President, is it not?
Not currently, no. I believe that would be Omnicast. Correct me if I'm wrong. I believe Omnicast is correct. Is the current champion, rather.
Omnicast is the champ. I need to get up to date here, clearly. So yeah, you can try to dethrone the current champion. Maybe you know more.
Now, of course, everybody claims it's all rigged, but it really is not.
And Thomas is saying, laugh out loud. Sure, Jeff, you don't remember.
It changes regularly, Thomas. Now, I know Omnicast has won several games in a row now, but it does change over time. And
Hey,
we didn't have a
Trick,
show
here.
this past Saturday, so I had to
Saying,
go back a week and a half.
Have I seen Will Ronison yet? Is that the actor's name or the character's name? I'm assuming the answer is no, no matter what, to be honest. I think the answer is no.
Oh, no, you have not. Not yet. He's talking about the character Lanier.
Okay. Hey,
played by
Random Thoughts. How you doing? So for a second episode, or season 1, episode 1, I think they are really just power playing through this. I mean, they're laying down a foundation for what this universe is. And at no point did I feel like I'm just being shoveled information, which is something you kind of get a lot of in almost any TV show now. You know, they have the stance of, we got 8 episodes, 6 episodes.
Exactly. The seasons are so short now that they have to just dump information on you.
Yeah. But here, I feel as if each episode, they're letting me know more about the characters. I'm getting to see how each one would interact, which is really something I love from Trek. Very often, you would have a Data and Geordi episode, or you'd have a Riker and Picard episode, and you'd see how these two individual characters interact in the midst of, you know, the larger ensemble cast of 7 people. And we're going to see that. Like, it's like this episode definitely wasn't a Sinclair and one other person. We're definitely seeing the whole cast as we're building up who they are, but we got moments of this is how these two people are interacting together, and it's making it feel larger, and it's making the pace go better than if I were to just focus on this one issue the whole time.
Yeah, I agree. You know, there's a large cast to the show, and this is another similarity to DS9. DS9 had this core cast, and then there was a larger cast around them of minor characters that played very major parts of the story, and you get that in this series as well. You got this core cast of like eight characters, and then there's a lot of other characters that will be introduced throughout the show. It sprinkled in, and they also play important parts of the show itself, adding to the storyline that you get. And that's another similarity to DS9, I think. Both shows do that very, very well.
Is saying United Nations out in outer space, big whoop. So obviously I've only seen 2 episodes. I don't know where this goes, but I can tell while the UN is going to be very much a central aspect of this show, even when it was in this episode, that wasn't the focus. Like, the focus was definitely, here's the larger issues going on in the world, or universe rather, and how these people are responding to it on a personal, moral character level. And so, I mean, there's a big difference between being like, wow, episode 1 Star Wars, it was C-SPAN in space. I mean, it kind of was. It was like, you watch it and you're like, oh my goodness, I don't care. I don't care, George. Like, you gotta do something better than this. My children, they love episode 4. I try to show them episode 1 and they're like, Dad, let's just watch episode 4 again. We can't do this anymore. This is so boring.
They don't like Jar Jar?
They weren't a fan of Jar Jar. Did we even get to Jar Jar? I don't remember. It was rough. But you don't get that in Babylon 5, at least not at this point. Maybe it gets worse. I'll keep my mind open. But at this point, I didn't at any point feel like, oh wow, we're watching the Senate hearing, even though we literally had a part that was a Senate hearing, basically. It just
Council
fit
meeting.
well. Yeah. I guess the reason it fit well, on a large part, was because we had the reference to Londo's nephew. We saw how Londo was concerned about his personal responsibility for his nephew. And even while he was talking about his personal responsibility, it gave us a picture of where the Centauri,
Centauri.
where the Centauri are in this universe. So even while he's talking about, oh, I feel guilty about this, he's expositing to me where his race is and letting me know about the Centauri mindset. And that's something I really respect in what Babylon 5 is doing right now. Each scene is serving these multiple functions where if, yes, I can watch and I can see what's going on, but when you actually listen to the characters, you're finding out so much about this person, what their view of their own society is, what their view of the neighboring society is, how their culture fits in with everyone else.
That's because it's so well written.
Yeah. Episode
1 of Star Wars was not well written.
Bless his heart. George,
he tried.
He did. And this is a thing I tell people. My wife, she thinks so highly of me, and I don't know why. But she often like, Matthew, you should like write a novel or something. And I'm like, Amy, I can't. I can see what other people have done and see where a good way to fix what they did was done. But I do not have the skill to sit down, write dialogue, write plot points. George had the same issue, I think. George Lucas, he was really good at coming up with an idea for something, but he didn't have the ability to write good dialogue.
No, he didn't. Painfully evident.
Oh, yeah. I remember hearing how Harrison Ford would walk up to him and be like, I'm not saying this. Like, no one talks like this. And so he would rewrite Han Solo's lines. I don't remember if she was his wife at the time, but at the very least, someone who became his wife was heavily involved in the editing of Star Wars and moved scenes around, deleted out other scenes. There's supposed to be a second trench run, like Luke messed up the first time and had to do a second one, and she's like, no, this is just killing the pacing.
I remember reading that.
Like, George did not have the ability to make a good movie, but he came up with a great idea, and he had a team of people that worked with him that he trusted, who made just a phenomenal piece of work. And once those people were gone, unfortunately, and he had free control, and everyone's like, well, it's George Lucas. He can do no wrong. Unfortunately, he could.
Yeah. Yeah, he did too.
Like, are you an angel? Or, I hate sand. It's coarse and it gets everywhere. like, bless it. Anyway, I don't need
as Omni says, now that's pod racing.
Yeah. Oh, man. Tokyo's saying I'd rather put up with Jar Jar than deal with anything from Obi-Wan and or. Yeah, who knew that we could go lower? Like we thought Jar Jar was the bottom. Who knew?
I don't know. I liked Obi-Wan, the series.
I actually haven't watched it.
Oh, okay. Give it a try. You may not like it. Some people didn't. But I did like it. I thought it was pretty good. Wasn't great, but it was pretty good.
Yeah,
It was worth having the Disney subscription to watch it. I'll say it that way.
I kind of, Marvel and Star Wars both, I kind of checked out of them around the same time. I forget when that was exactly, but it maybe around She-Hulk. I just went, you know what?
Yeah, I was pretty much done with Marvel then.
I came back for Loki season 2.
I've not seen that yet.
But beyond that, it's like, guys, until you get some better writers in there, I'm just not interested anymore. Well, guys, thanks
Yeah,
for hanging out with us. Jeff, you got some final thoughts this episode? Or
I thought this was a good reintroduction to the series. Like I said, this was 11 months since the pilot aired. So they had to reintroduce the characters, the settings, the relationships between different races and characters, as well as introduce 3 new characters. So, because you had Vera Ivanova and Talia.
yes.
So I thought it was a good story. It reinforced the history between the Narns and the Centauri, and their hatred of each other. So I thought this was a good story to set up the show again.
Yeah.
And you had Sinclair jumping in a Star Fury, going out after the Raiders and figuring out the solution to the problem at Rockish 3. So, it was all around a good story, I thought.
I like I said earlier, I'm very glad you caught my mistake and had me watch the pilot first. I'll have to watch the episode again and really think how, if I hadn't seen the pilot, what would I be responding at this moment? But just my off the cuff thought, I definitely would have a very different impression if this was my first episode about how the characters related to each other. Like I'd be missing out on a lot of context. Like I would know next to nothing about Delenn from this episode.
Yes, Delenn.
Ah, darn it. I was close.
You were close. I will give you that.
Yeah, there's just so much context I would have missed out on if I'd missed the pilot. But this was a good follow-up episode to that. I like seeing where they're going, and I look forward to next week, which will be Soul Hunter.
What do you think that episode will be about? I mean, we did this with Sequest,
Right.
where you
Yes.
tried to guess the plot of the next episode.
Okay. So it's hard to tell where they're going to go as a series. So once you get to know a sci-fi series well, you can figure out if, when they say something like a soul, if this is really going to be a religious aspect, or if this is just going to be a clever play on words sort of situation. I think they are going to take maybe not a religious aspect per se, but they are going to have this be a time of introspection. What is the core of your being? So I think this is going to be a question brought up by Delenn's people. It's going to be one of their sayings that you need to hunt your soul, something along those lines. And I'm not sure who it's going to be said to. Sinclair would be kind of the obvious choice, since any good sci-fi show is ultimately like, okay, this is a bit of a broad brushstroke, so bear with me, people. I realize I'm being super general here, but any good sci-fi show where you're seeing aliens and humans interacting is going to be an exploration of the human character by taking some real life human thing, projecting that on an alien, and then having it come back to us. So I do think, I forget where I was going with that comment. I forget where I was at the beginning.
Well, you were talking about being introspective and learning about.
So, okay, yeah. So I was saying, I think it's going to be probably set to Sinclair, because since this is supposed to be a look into the human condition, having a human thinking about who they are at the core of their being. Am I going to go this way? Am I going to go that way? It should be asked to a human, and not just, asking Jakar, who are you? Because no one necessarily cares about Jakar's soul. We care about the human soul. Other than that, I could see it possibly being a Psy-Corps episode where we're really having to do a lot of Vulcan mind melding sort of stuff as we try and get to the heart of someone to figure out something. So that's kind of my two kind of thoughts about where it could go.
Well, we'll see what happens next week.
We'll see what happens.
See how close you are.
How far I am, perhaps.
Time will tell. It always does.
Well, guys, thanks so much for joining us. Jeff, thank you for being with us this week. And we should
It's
be
my
back,
pleasure.
Should be back next week. Same time, 9:30, Mondays. We look forward to seeing you for Soul Hunter.
9:30 Central, Matthew time, 10:30 Eastern.
Very important detail.
Indeed.
Take care, everyone.
Live long and prosper.
Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to hit that like button and share it with your friends. If you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you will, and be sure to hit that bell icon to be notified of all the updates I do on this channel. If you want to support the work I'm doing here, then I hope you'll consider becoming one of my Patreons, where you'll get early access to all kinds of videos. And until the next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen.